Hey, everybody. Welcome in to the Thursday Night Football Prop Bet live stream here at BettingPros. Thank you for joining us. We did this already on Monday. Seemed to work pretty well. Hit both the props I gave out. So let's see if we can keep it going. What you are looking at is me, unfortunately, down here in the little screen. And the larger screen is our prop bet cheat sheet over at BettingPros. If you go to the NFL homepage, you'll be able to see it. Now, you can rely on it. What it does is it compares projections, consensus projections, with the over-under line and the best over-under line that is in the market. You can see the various bets and the various books that they have here. Number one at Fox Bet, number two at FanDuel, Fox Bet, DraftKings, because books obviously give out different lines, especially with prop bets, and they move a ton. If you're here, by the way, and you want to drop a comment in the chat, please feel free. You do have to be subscribed, which helps us out, by the way, when you subscribe, and maybe like the video as well, but ask anything you want in terms of props. So the number one prop bet recommended by the cheat is Justin Herbert over 280.5 passing yards with the consensus projections at 295.63. I also have it projected over, though I'm not necessarily betting that over on this one because I don't think there's enough of an edge. But when you look at it, there are a lot of injuries, obviously, when you get to the Chiefs defense. They're going to be down Chris Jones. They're going to be down L'Jarius Sneed, Willie Gay, and now Charcandrick West is apparently dealing with an illness, and he is questionable as well. So it's something where I could see him having a big day here, especially as he probably has a lot of time in the pocket. But I don't see enough of an edge there to make me want to bet it. Now, Mike Williams, I actually didn't love this prop whatsoever. That's the number two bet on the prop bet cheat sheet. He was at 54.5 at FanDuel, and the line is 67.28, or the projection, pardon me, is 67.28. Now, I don't mind that either, but I do worry a little bit about the fact that he was going to go up against West, and that's a tough matchup. And that's a matchup that is not the one necessarily that they can exploit. And even if he didn't have West, he might have Fenton. So he's going to have a couple of tough cornerbacks here. So it wasn't something where I necessarily wanted to go after. But given the fact that West is now questionable with an illness, if he's out, that makes me a lot more comfortable with it. So what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to talk about a couple of my favorite props that I see here. And they do align generally with the prop bet cheat sheet. But you can see, you can also, when you go here, you can sort by whatever you want in terms of the matchups or all matchups if you want. All bets, you can do whatever you want. And I personally, in this matchup, I'm going to look at some receiving props. Now, the top one you can see is Travis Kelce over 5.5 receptions. Now, it's juiced up. It's minus 143 right here. I actually got it at minus 139 personally. But the projection you can see is slightly over at 6.1. I'm going over with this one. And I have bet it, and I realize it's juiced up a little bit, but that doesn't bother me quite as much when I get to player props necessarily, because I'm not usually betting full units here on player props. I'm usually at half a unit, something like that when I do it. But this game sets up really nicely for Kelce in particular. The reason is that the Chargers, what has given the Chiefs trouble in their passing game of late is the fact that all these teams have basically decided we are taking away the explosive play. We are setting our safeties deep. We're playing too high safeties. You saw that the Raiders who never do that, did not do that last week, and the Chiefs just totally pummeled them. But the Chargers do that, generally speaking. So they're just not a great matchup necessarily for the Chiefs passing game anyway. In my opinion, that's going to take away these large, huge plays that you're going to get. And I think the Chiefs drives are going to be a little more methodical and a little more of the short passing. To me, that means a lot of Travis Kelce kind of going over the middle, 12-yard gains, things like that. Not these giant things, which is why I don't actually love the yardage prop, which we'll get to, but I think it's probably at 66.5. I think when I saw it, I'll check it. But I don't like that nearly as much as I do the receptions. And again, I do know some people and some books that are at 6.5, and that's the line, and it's offering plus odds. I don't mind that either if you're getting plus odds, because I do find this to be a game where he's probably going to pull in at about 7 receptions. So I don't mind that, but I do like it at over 5.5. Another receptions one that I like, and it's because you're getting plus money, is Darryl Williams, which you can see right here. It's the 4th highest recommended receptions prop. It's 2.5. It's at plus 115 at Fox Bet. You should get plus money on this only if it's plus money. If your book does not offer that and they give, you know, minus 110, might even minus 105, even at, plus 100, I don't love it. But if you get plus money on it, which I think you should at most books, it's worth it. He's got 3 receptions in each of the last 2 games. And again, this strikes me as something where they're going to play conservative. They're not going to push the ball down the field at all times. This is something, again, where I see chunk gains going. I did like the under as it got pushed to 54. There's so many injuries, though, going on both sides defensively that I'm not really ready necessarily to pull the trigger on that. As we're saying here right now, I am on the under 54, to be fair. But I do think that, again, this is not going to be a game where they necessarily push it down the field. So let's go with that to the receiving yards. And this is a really scary one to bet. And as you can see, and I'm just being honest here, I am not with the prop bet cheat sheet on this one, although this is probably a different line that you could get out there with the book if you check your book. You see Tyreek Hill, and they have over 75.5 receiving yards with the projections at 84.3. I've seen this at 79 or 79.5. That's what I have. And that I actually like the under. So I'm just being fully honest with it. And sorry, I'm looking at all these positive tests that come in here as now, not for tonight, but Case Keenum is tested positive for COVID-19, which leaves Nick Mullins as the starting quarterback for the Browns. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I actually lean towards the under here if it's 79.5. And again, this is why you can see different books. They like it. The prop bet cheat sheet likes it above at 84.3, but that's at 75. That's a little bit more of an edge. If the line that they saw was at 79, they probably wouldn't like it quite as much. So I'm just going to go through a couple of other ones that I like as well. And we'll start with this one. And I actually got this at 12.5. Okay. And as you can see, by the way, the only rushing attempt listed here is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, because we don't know whether or not Austin Eckler is going to play. So they don't feel comfortable putting up a line yet. They will put it up after warmups, and we'll see what that is. I got Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 12.5. That was a line that I liked. At 13.5, it's not quite as enticing to me. But again, this is the way I expect this game to go out. This is how I have it projected, where I have the Chiefs to play a more conservative game, take it easy with them, chunk gains, things like that. And you look at the Chargers' recent games, pretty much everybody has gone over this prop, every lead rusher. I mean, you want to combine all the rushers, that's great. But in fact, in all of their games, only 2 times has a running back not gone over this prop. One was against the Ravens, where they split it up completely, 24 carries split between 3 running backs. And the other one was Najee Harris, who only got 12 that one random game, which, again, was not a game I sort of expect to go. I think you're going to see a lot of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's been around here, right? I mean, he was at 10 at one game. He's been at 14. This is around where he is. But I do think you're going to see a lot of running against the Chargers defense that's obviously very exploitable on the ground. And I do expect them to go. Again, I don't love necessarily the rushing yards prop here for anybody, but I do like the rushing attempts. So those are the ones that I'm officially go. I'll go with 13.5. It's fine. I mean, I like the 12.5 better if you have 12.5 still at your books, which again is where I got it. I would take that. But at 13.5, I can sort of live with it. And again, the ones that I like, the most here necessarily are Travis Kelce going over 5.5 receptions. Even with it being juiced up, I'm okay with it. And Darryl Williams, if you're getting the plus money, at over 2.5. If your book offers Tyreek Hill at 79 or 79.5 or anything greater, I would also go for the under. That's one you have to be prepared to lose, because you can lose that on a single play. Like, that's just how it works. I mean, he can take a slant and take it to the house. You might be done right off the bat. But again, the way the Chargers play defense is they take away those big plays. That's their whole thing. They almost invite you to run. I think back to the Bills-Giants Super Bowl back when Belichick devised the greatest game plan, which they said, we're going to let you run for 100 yards, and we don't care because we're going to take away the pass. It's a lot of what the Chargers do. That's one of the reasons why their run defense is so bad. So I think they take away the explosive plays. I'll very quickly go through the remaining props. Passing touchdowns, again, is not one that I like to really see or go through or anything like that. Passing yards is one. Again, we have it. Both of them lean the over here, at least for the back. 290, 280.5 for Herbert. Again, we talked about that. And Patrick Mahomes, 280.5. The prop bet cheat sheet sees a little value there. It's not enough for me to want to go near either one. Again, I think this might be conservative. If I had to go one, if you're like, Dan, somebody told me I have to bet a passing yards prop, I would say, who is that person? But I would also say go with Herbert, because I do expect that to be a little bigger. For receptions, again, Travis Kelce, that is the one that the prop bet cheat sheet sees the biggest edge on. That's probably why it's juiced up so high. Jalen Guyton, Jared Cook, even Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that's plus money. I don't love it. The only other one that I really like is Darryl Williams. Because again, the way it works is it's just too fluky. Except, I guess I will say, the prop bet cheat sheet doesn't love it. They see only a small edge with it. But I'm not completely averse to the over 6.5 on the Keenan Allen receptions. Okay, that's minus 118. The prop bet cheat sheet sees it as 6.72. So that's not a huge edge or anything like that. But for me, I do see, again, depending on if West can suit up, where they're going to take away some of the bigger outside receivers. I think Allen, who plays half the time in the slot, maybe a little more, he is going to be sort of an outlet here, especially if Austin Eckler is out or limited for Justin Herbert. So that's one that I don't hate either. Other than that, there's not a ton of great one. You saw the rushing yards. Darryl Williams at 14.5. It's just too minimal that you're going to see. Justin Herbert at 15.5. Actually don't mind that one quite as much. And when I first looked at this, it was at 20 because I think the books are just now starting to completely put out their lines. So when I first looked at it, it was 20 and I didn't like that. 15.5, I don't mind it as much. Again, without Jones, I do think that he's going to be able to sit in a clean pocket a little more, maybe take his time, maybe not have to rush quite as much. But I do think he's also willing to take off when he doesn't see something there. And so you're probably going to have the opportunity at least to go over this. Not Mahomes. Mahomes is something I'm staying away from necessarily. But if I am going with a rushing yards prop, it would be Justin Herbert over 15.5. So that's really what we're looking at tonight, guys. I like the Travis Kelce over 6.5 receptions. I like Darryl Williams if you get plus money over 2.5 receptions. I like Tyreek Hill under 79.5. You can get it around there. If it's at 75, I'm staying away from it completely. But that's really where I like. If you want to go Justin Herbert over 15.5 rushing yards, I'm okay with it. And I'm also okay with Clyde Edwards-Helaire going over 13.5 rushing attempts. I'd prefer 12.5 if you could get it. But that's it. And that's what this is, by the way. It's the prop bet cheat sheet. You can go to bettingpros.com/props. It'll take you right there. We have one for the NBA too. A couple of guys were messaging me saying they were really successful with it. And again, props come out later, but as you go through the week, just go ahead through. You can go through any specific matchup that you want as books necessarily put it out. Thanks everybody for stopping by. Come to the Discord. We can talk about it more. That's bettingpros.com/chat. And good luck with all your wagers tonight. I'll talk to you later.